The Graphiant network architecture is built on a fundamental premise about delivering a simple network service. Now, how do we do that? What is it that's unique about the Graphiant solution, the service that we provide? What we have built is a stateless core. What does that mean? Right? When you'll see a lot of language around the Graphiant stateless core. What does that mean? For us, we philosophically understood that in networking, one of the biggest challenges is how much customer state has to be maintained at every intermediate device. This could be configs, this could be routes, policies, VRFs, IPsec tunnels, you name it. A plethora of stuff that is clogging up the transit, making topologies inflexible and rigid. For Graphiant, the approach was the transit should be pure transport. There should never be encryption, decryption, route lookups, VRF configurations in transit. This gives us the high performance we need in the stateless core. How is this built? This is where Graphiant's metadata-based protocol comes in. We put in metadata into the data plane itself that allows the customer traffic as it passes through this network infrastructure to go wherever it needs to without having to worry about how to manage a complicated customer configuration landscape. That forms the basis of our architecture. Our goal here always is when we think about networking is to provide simple and easy transport, that the transport should be programmable and you, the user, can decide the path that the traffic will go on no matter what the final destination is. What did we do as Graphiant, right? When we think about the question that you just asked, it's a very fun one. We didn't want to make something proprietary, right? We don't want to create those kinds of lock-in scenarios. But we also know ratifying a standard will probably take the majority of my lifetime. So what we wanted to do was take standards-based protocols and create extendability in them. So our service isn't strictly proprietary. What we actually want to do is once we have sufficient deployments and customer adoption, then to present to the IETF for standardization ratification. Because we know it's a long process. There is a method to the madness. And so this is where, as you first consume it, you may think it's proprietary, but it isn't. It is built in such a way that it can become an open standard once presented to the IETF. The Graphiant service, and because we are fundamentally a service, it is important to know where we are. The Graphiant network service is available across the United States and select locations across Europe and Asia Pacific. We look at providing coverage to our customers to be able to access our service within 15 milliseconds of distance to the Graphiant core, so that any location is within 15 milliseconds of the Graphiant network. Our first set of customers are primarily US-based customers, specific entities in financial services, in manufacturing, in healthcare and retail that have very targeted use cases that are looking at our service and how they will roll this out over the next year. The underlay problem is a very, very important thing to recognize. When we think about MPLS VPNs, they were originally controlled by the service provider, so the underlay was the service providers themselves. When we went to the SD-WAN world, we were building overlays on top of an unpredictable, unknown, indeterministic internet underlay. Anything could happen, and you would see telemetry results, but you couldn't do anything about it. For us during the SD-WAN days, we saw that was a problem. We can't really just build overlays on top of an unpredictable underlay. For Graphiant, it became important to have that predictability. So what did we do to solve the underlay problem? This is where we needed to understand the difference between last mile and middle mile. Last mile internet, there's a lot of connectivity, there's 5G, there's all kinds of different capabilities there. But in the middle mile transit space, we needed to make sure we reserve private wavelengths to have private connectivity where we get SLAs that we can pass to the customers. So no longer are we talking about an indeterministic pathing over the internet. As part of the Graphiant service, you get the guarantees from a pre-provisioned, well SLA governed underlay from the Graphiant service. For Graphiant, the philosophy has always been the data should always be in the customer's control, never any intermediate entity. So the encryption principle, people say end-to-end encryption, but for us it's much more significant than that. This is about data sovereignty. You, the end user, should have the encryption-decryption keys for your data. At no point should I or anyone else be able to see your data without your explicit permission. So our network service guarantees that. No other service provides that because they either have to terminate tunnels or they have to maintain your entire traffic in the clear as it passes through their infrastructure. The Graphiant service is fundamentally about data sovereignty. You are always in control of your keys and your data and where it resides.